It's like a bank account, but truly global. Local currencies from Latin America, you have euro, you have US dollar, you have a pound, so you can exchange in between any currency very easy. 70% of the transactions settle in under 5 minutes. Today is the best time in the world to start a business with AI, of course. The only first thing you have to focus on is product market fit.
Hi everyone, welcome to Startup Scaleup People podcast. I'm Mario Rivas. I'm here with Tomás Bercovich. I hope that I pronounced the surname quite well. This is going to be an episode about fintech. I'm very excited because, as everyone knows, I'm from Chile, based in London, in the UK for 14 years. And I'm going to be talking with Tomás, who is the founder and CEO of one of the very important fintechs in LATAM, with $1.4 billion transaction volume just in Q1 in 2026. So very excited. Welcome, Tomás.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you for the invitation.
No, it's a pleasure, Tomás. You know, I don't have the opportunity to invite so many Chileans, to be honest, to the podcast. And when I saw you, we talked at the fintech event in London Stock Exchange Group, you know, like office, I thought, oh, it would be cool. So thank you for accepting, actually, because I imagine that you are very busy with the scaling your business. Well, to start the conversation, it would be good to provide some context, because we know that, you know, you have a global platform, is fintech with Stablecoins, do international transactions as well, and you have more products there. But to provide like an insight and a context to the audience, can you explain a little bit your business?
Sure. So Global66, we offer both individuals and businesses what we call a global account. It's an account that you have local currencies from Latin America, you have euro, you have US dollar, you have a pound, so you can exchange in between any currency very easily. You can send money all over the world, and we settle the transactions. 70% of the transactions settle in under 5 minutes. You have a MasterCard that we call it a smart card, that it debits from the currency you're spending. You can pay QR code in Brazil or in Argentina. You can collect money from almost any country in the world. So it's an account that you can do all your financial life, both locally and globally, and also for businesses. You can pay payroll, imports, services, whatever. You can upload a file and pay hundreds or thousands of different transactions in just one time. So it's like a bank account, but truly global.
Okay. And what about savings? Also, you cover a part of savings?
Yeah,
or
we have savings. So we pay interest in many of the accounts. So the US dollar account pays up to 6% interest. The Chilean, Colombian, Argentinian peso account also pay interest. Yeah. And we have surprises coming up in that vertical in the next few months.
And how does it work? Because to be honest, like people who are not, you know, don't leave Chile or don't need to transfer money, don't know so much about this. But to explain a little bit more the operating model. If I sign up on Global66, right? And I open my account there, that means that I can open a bank account which transfer money to different countries, or I'm going to be able to open accounts in different countries? How does it work?
Yeah, so both. You can actually open an account from the UK or from Europe or from Latin America. Our onboarding is open almost everywhere in the world, and we will give you a US dollar account with an account in the US. We'll give you a euro account with an IBAN in Europe, and we'll give you local accounts in Chile, Colombia, and in the next few months in other countries, so you can get money into your account from any of those accounts. Also, we give you can fund the account through stablecoins, USDT, USDC, PYUSD. So that's the way you get money into an account. And once you have the money into the account, you can do almost anything of what I was talking. You can send money everywhere. You can pay peer-to-peer to other customers. You can use your MasterCard, your smart card. You're free to move your money wherever you want in the world. You can pay 2 stable coins as well. So we have the pay-in and the payout, both in fiat and stable coins.
And if for someone in Chile if they want to open an account in the UK, do they need something special, some special documents or requirements to do that? Or is it's very easy to do that, basically?
So we don't give a UK sort code to people in Latin America. We don't have that functionality. We give them a US dollar account in the US, and we give them an IBAN in Europe. and not a short code in the UK.
Okay, cool. Okay. But you cover Europe, basically.
We cover Europe, yeah. We cover Europe. Euros.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to understand because I have these basic questions. Tomás, how, because I was doing some research to understand your company, yourself as well, your background. You have multiple hats in different companies. I saw so far you're a business advisor as well, and I think other small ventures. And I saw that you've been working and running this business for 7 years. You raised around $100 million, I think?
No. Around 20 million. Much
20
less.
million.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not that good at raising money, but we're pretty efficient when we have it.
Okay, now that's good. That's even better then. And because I was doing a research and it says around that, so or maybe I didn't read very well. Okay, so $20 million, which is still a lot anyway.
Yeah, of course, it's a lot of money, but to do what we're doing, a global account in many countries, you need a lot of money, and probably we've been one of the most efficient companies in the world building something like this with not a lot of resources. You imagine we need regulations in each country we operate. Each regulation needs capital requirements. You need compliance, you need to build the infrastructure, you need to build the product, you need to acquire customers. So of course 20 million is a lot of money, but if you put it into context, it's not really that much.
Yeah, that's well, I hear that because you were on the panel when we were at the event in London, and I remember that about you and your peers were talking about the infrastructure and and also the regulation is the most difficult part of starting a fintech, basically. How do you start? How do you started this business?
So I've started some businesses in my life, and I think all of them start the same. They start with a problem that you believe it's not well solved or it's not solved at all. And then you do an MVP and you iterate that MVP until you get to product market fit. That's the only thing important when you start. Doing an MVP and getting to product market fit. So what we did, we developed a very simple web page. We started with money transfer. We saw a great pain in Latin America in transferring money.
But that was because you studied in the US, right?
I studied in Chile and in the UK, and then I did entrepreneurship and competitiveness for Latin America program in Columbia University in New York.
Yeah. Okay. So you saw that you had the pain of transferring money, basically, right?
Yeah, I had the pain when I went to live to the UK. My pain was much deeper than only transferring money. I couldn't open a bank account in the UK. That's another story. But to get back to what we did is a very simple web page where the customer could quote to send money from Chile to Peru. We did a very narrow MVP, one corridor to understand the business. So it was you could quote, and then we asked you in a Google form all your details from what were your personal details and the details of the beneficiary you wanted to send money. And then we told you, please send your money to this bank account. That was a bank account from the company. And all that data introduced into the Google form went into a Google Sheet. Our backend was just a Google Sheet. All the data from one transaction was one line in the spreadsheet. So very simple. And then we went into the bank to see if the money came in. If it came in, we went into the bank in Peru and we deposit the money to the beneficiary. Everything 100% manual. They say you have to start doing things that don't scale. And then when the process is mature, you can automate it and do it scalable. But so it was a very, very simple MVP, and very slowly it started to get traction because of course it was much faster, easier, and cheaper than transferring money through the Western unions of the world. So that's how we started, little by little, everything manual.
And it's been 7 years. And then how was the journey? Yeah. Because I imagine that you nailed it. You did the market fit. You said, okay, I need to do my first round. I had to do fundraising. How do you do that? How do you build your team? How does it work?
Yeah, many questions in one. So after you get to product market fit, you have to build the company. At first, you have a product, a very simple thing, but then you get to really to scale it. You have to, as you say, build a team, probably raise money, start documenting every process, getting licenses as we are in the financial industry, and you start doing it little by little, bringing in the people that can help you build this business. Nor Cristol nor myself, we come we're not developers, so we both studied engineering and economics. So we built a tech team. We started developing the platform. Then we went to raise some money when we had the MVP already with product market fit, and we could show that it was growing pretty fast and the unit economics makes sense, whatever. We did our first seed round, and we raised a little bit more than $4 million from angel investors and a VC from the UK, actually, that had invested very early stage with Revolut as well. So they knew what we wanted to do. And then it goes, and you start every day, little by little. You know, how do you eat an elephant?
It sounds easy.
Little by little. No, of course it's not, but it's getting up in the morning every day and doing your job. You have to plan. We developed our strategy very early on before building the company. We did, and that strategy keeps almost intact until today. And then it's everything. It's about planning year by year, week by, and executing on our strategy and our business plan. So that's it.
Congratulations. And I was reading, like some KPIs, and you have around $1.4 billion transaction volume in Q1 2026. Yeah. I hope that the number is good. Is that correct? Is that correct? And
it's correct. And we are already over. Last month we did $550 million in TPV, transactional.
And what do you have to do to grow that, to get into I don't know, 5 billion or 10 billion per quarter? What are you doing to scale the business?
Yeah.
To get
to
our strategy,
to that level? Our growth strategy comes down to 3 verticals. First is product. So product and customer experience. So we keep building products and features and trying to improve our customers' experience all the time. And that's the number one growth driver we've seen throughout these years, and not only in this company, in other companies we've built as well. So we're trying to get faster in building product and in improving the experience. AI, of course, is helping a lot in that sense. I can tell you an anecdote later, but the second pillar is geographical expansion. So we opened our onboarding to more than 100 countries 6 months ago, and we're going deeper in some of them, building more local experience, connecting to local ACH networks, being able to offer a better paying experience. So that's pillar number 2. And then pillar number 3 is brand and customer acquisition. We've been slowly building our brand that is getting all the time a little bit more known throughout Latin America and some places of the world. And we are pushing as hard as we can in terms of customer acquisition, but in a very, let's say, conscious way. So we care a lot about unit economics. We care a lot about what's the customer acquisition cost, what's the payback, how much time do I get the money back from each cohort, from each channel that we are investing. So by doing that today, we're bringing in between 40 and 50,000 new transactional users per month in our B2C business, and we're bringing in about 1,000 new businesses, B2B customers per month. So we are pushing as hard as we can to get that number growing and growing, our brand being more recognized throughout Latin America and the world. So we're executing on that. If we execute on those 3 verticals, I have no doubt that we'll get to 5 billion, 10 billion in the next few years.
And are you thinking to do fundraising again to close another bigger round, or do you want to grow a little bit more organically?
The company is profitable for the past more than 2 years. So we are generating cash, and we're reinvesting that cash in the 3 verticals that I just told you. So we can grow organically. Of course, there's the regulatory thing, and we're discussing maybe the next step of the company is getting banking licenses. And if it's getting banking licenses, the regulatory capital requirement of capital gets much bigger, and then we may need additional cash. So it's an ongoing conversation. But the business can keep growing without any cash infusion from the outside, without any problem.
We talk a little bit of the strategy and growth, also about customer acquisition and customer experience. Do you have a special KPI that you are obsessed? That's your favorite? Is the one that you are looking like twice a day or once a day? Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, my favorite one is NPS. NPS is the number, let's say, but I look every day throughout all the channels where we get customer reviews, from the App Store, the Play Store, NPS surveys, customer experience surveys after any service. And I've always said, if customers are really happy with the service, you'll have no problem keep growing. And if you have issues, you have to solve them. So having that direct contact and being very aware of what's happening at the customer level, I think help us improve, and it's a predictor of how growth will be in the future.
That's a very good one. I work in retail. I have a business in Chile in retail. It's totally different, but it's B2C as well, right? So yeah, and the customer satisfaction is so important when you work with so many people, because if you get it wrong, you're gonna have such a big impact. B2B obviously is a big impact, but different volume, of course, different type of contracts. But I think that the impact is different. You have to care a lot about the customers. I see that as well. That pain. And why do you think that LATAM, that's moving to another topic about the market? Because you've been in the UK, in the US, also in Chile, but you decide to establish the operations in Latin America and stay in Chile, right? Well, why do you think that LATAM is one of the most attractive?
Yeah, that's very easy. The US, you have 330 million people, more than 5,000 banks. Latin America, we're 660 million people, and there are less than 300 banks. Okay, so that's a 35x more banks per capita in the US than in LATAM. And if you do the comparison with Europe, it's exactly the same. So what happens if you start drilling down on the data, you realize that banks in Latin America are by far the most profitable in the world. Banks in Europe have an ROE of 3 to 5% normally. In the US, they have 8 to 10%. In Latin America, they have ROEs of 18, 20% and up. So that's because there's little competition, and that translates into fees and everything. So there's a huge opportunity. And of course, the infrastructure we have in LATAM is far away from the infrastructure you have in Europe and in other countries. So there's a lot to build in Latin America for different use cases, for different customer segments. So it's a big market. If you are, of course, it's difficult because it's fragmented. It's not like the Europe that you can get a license in one country and the passport and operate in all Europe with one license. Here you have to go country by country, getting licenses and everything up and running to work. So it's tough, but the market is big, and there are a lot of use cases that are not really solved in a good way.
And probably I'm going to do a controversial question or comment. I don't know if you can talk about this or not. You can say pass.
Go.
But I feel that the financial market in Chile is like a scam. But I'm not talking about your business. I'm talking about the bank. Yeah. I did a simulation, for example, for a 10K loan, like 10 million pesos, right?
Okay, yeah.
And in here in the UK, in London, was the most expensive city around the globe, right?
Yeah.
I ended up paying 13K, right? And in Chile, around 18 or 19. It was like, what's going on? How in Chile I'm going to be paying, like 3 times what I pay in London? And then we did all the exercises, and everything is like, it's insane. And then I was looking at the bills of like the electricity, many things. And I thought, it's impossible that my brother, who lives in Concepcion, the light there, the energy, bill is more expensive than London. I was like, what's going on? So I realized that the regulation is not good, the competition is not good, and I don't know what's going on. If it's corruption or what, but there is something that's not working basically.
No, I believe Chile has a very stable and robust financial market. I think it's a lack of competition in the end. It's a very closed club, and in general, in most of the countries in Latin America, there's little competition. And when there's little competition, of course, prices are higher than when there's a lot of competition. And experience is worse because they don't have the incentive to really improve it. So I think that's the opportunity really to build today solutions for customer segments and for use cases that are not well solved by the traditional players. And that's what we're doing. We are offering a global account that customers can have an account in Chile or in Colombia or in whatever country in Latin America, and they have an account in the US, they have an account in Europe, they can transfer at a fraction of the price, they can do it faster. So with a better experience, and that's the opportunity. So the financial system in Chile is very robust. That's very good. We're a very stable country, but there's opportunity of improving the experience, bringing costs down, and making people and businesses more global.
Yeah, but there is a point with regulation, right? In the UK, if you start charging that, the FCA is going to come and say, what's going on? This is not allowed. It's over the rate. It's over like the limits. And in Chile, they do whatever they want. I mean, I don't know.
Chile has limits. Probably the limits are higher. They're higher than in the UK, probably. Yep.
But by the end, but the services that you provide are not related to that, and you have very competitive prices. I saw the prices that you have and are actually very low. So that's why that's why you have so many clients, right? It's very convenient, right? Because you're transferring money, from a bank from Chile to here. I've never done it actually because it's very slow. It's like take 3, 5 days, 6 days. I don't know how many days. And then secondly, it's very expensive. It's very expensive. But moving to another topic, so don't talk anymore about Chile. I have a question here that I don't know if it's correct or not. It's about like Silicon Valley investors. Which is your opinion from the Silicon Valley investors about Latin America? Do you have some insights about that or not? Because I hear that they don't invest so much in Latin America. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are some that invest in Latin America. I started building businesses like almost 20 years ago in Latin America when there was nobody. There were a couple of local funds, but no fund from the US, Europe, whatever. Today, if you have a good business, you can raise money from the US, from Europe. There are funds, of course, not all of them, and some of them came, and after the crash in 2021, they left. But today, there's not a problem of lack of capital, I would say, for good businesses to be funded. If you have a good business, good unit economics, good team, it's probable that you will get a term sheet. Maybe not in the best conditions you would like. There's, of course, they punish us for being in Latin America, but today there's access to capital from Silicon Valley, from other places. We have in our cap table 3 funds from the US, 1 fund from the UK. So it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have traction, clients, and revenue. That's essential today. I see that the pre-seed in Europe, generally around the globe, is almost impossible. Pre-seed doesn't exist anymore because you have to have clients, traction, and revenue if you want to raise money. Of course, the AI companies, they can raise, with PowerPoints or very basic MVPs or not traction, but to more traditional, ideas, they have to have very good, as you said, unit economics. For the future, do you think that will stablecoins replace SWIFT?
Actually, I don't know. I believe SWIFT is working on a blockchain solution that will... SWIFT was a technology invented, 50 years ago. It worked very well for that time. Of course, today, 50 years later, there are much better solutions. There's technology to make the experience much better. So I believe they are into that process. So I don't know if it will replace or not SWIFT. What I do know is that cross-border payments will get instant or almost instant throughout the world. Global66, we pay almost instant in 70% of our transactions. And the 30% we don't pay instant is because the local network on the beneficiary side is not instant. So what we do is we connect to local networks in each of the countries. So for example, the US is still not instant. They are getting to Fed now, and probably that will get to the instant level, but most of the US still works on ACH, and there are cycles, and if you do a local transaction, you don't get it immediately. That's insane. In Chile, we have that from 20 years ago. But there are many countries that are still not there, but I believe that most of them are working on having their instant solutions. So I believe in the next few years, all or most of the local transfers will be instant. And therefore, with stablecoins, probably Swift improving their technology, companies like Global66 connecting locally to the networks will get into a point that most of the international transactions will get real time.
And how do you see Global66 look like in 5 years?
We should be the most or one of the most important global accounts in Latin America and maybe in other parts of the world. We should offer a full, let's say, banking experience with all the products that a customer may want to use, both for our B2C and B2B segments. If we keep executing, we have an amazing team. I think we have a strategy. It may not be the best one. I believe we have a winning strategy. And if we keep executing, we should add a lot of value and simplify a lot the lives of people and companies that want to have a global life. So, yep.
And in terms of leadership, because you said that you've been building businesses for 20 years, right? Where you've been hiring people, firing people, building teams, and then, succeeding, failing, and then starting again. And now you are, you got a stable business, you want to grow it. As you mentioned, the strategy is very stable. Obviously, you are including the new practices, trends, AI, as you mentioned as well, which makes things easier. From the CEO role, in terms of leadership, what do you think that in terms of personality you had to change during the last 7 years?
So the role changes a lot of a CEO when it's a 3-5 person company. Of course, you have to do almost everything. You're building the culture from scratch. You have to serve coffee, sell, build tea, everything, As the company evolves, grows, you start putting leadership positions and your role evolves and there are more stakeholders that you have to manage. So what I try to do, like probably any CEO, is like have the strategy very clear, communicate the strategy very clear to all the team, have very clear priorities for the year and for every quarter, let the teams do their work. I believe and my way of work is I believe that every people that is in their jobs are better than me and know more about their field than what I do. So I give them all the space and field to play. I always step in when I'm not comfortable on how things are being done, and I'm always here to be sparring or to solve problems or to help them get things out of the way. And I see my role also it's like an inverted pyramid where everybody's executing, and my role is to help them do it as fast as they can and take obstacles and things out of the way. And I have to learn how to manage many stakeholders from outside the company, from investors, media, regulators, whatever. And yeah, I think that's and the role of the entrepreneur and the CEO is probably it's to solve problems every day, many of them, and make decisions. Probably there are days that you can make, 10, 20 decisions, many of them small, some medium, some very important. So it's all about making the least bad decisions as possible, or the other way, making the most right decision as possible. So try to keep your mind sharp, have a lot of common sense, and help the team execute.
Which is the hardest thing of leading a company, who is moving like billions of dollars?
I think in the end, it's managing everyone. It's like being probably a psychologist, and you're in the middle. So there's a lot of people, everybody has their expectations, and you're in the middle, you're like the ham in the sandwich. You're in the middle of the board and the investors and all the team. And you have to somehow get everybody aligned, everybody as happy as possible, everybody towards the same objective, and have that, keep the harmony in the team and keep everybody focused on executing and doing their job as best as possible. I think that's the hardest.
Basically the orchestrator.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and how big is your company? How many employees do you have?
A little bit over 400.
No, it's a big team. It's a very big team. Yeah, a lot of management there.
Yeah.
We're heading to the end of the episode. We have a few questions more. It's impossible not to touch AI, of course. It's very important today. Which is the main of how are you using AI today as a tool? Which is the main purpose of AI in your business right now? Not in the future, because we know that it's a constant evolution, but right now.
So I'll frame it this way. So I believe the game of business in any field you are or any industry is to try to give the customers the best experience possible at the lowest possible price. That's more or less the equation we're trying to solve. So today and in the next few years, it will be impossible to compete and to really optimize that equation if you don't have AI running through the veins of the company. So, of course, AI is a technological, let's say, revolution, but deep down, what it is, it's a very, very profound cultural change. You have to change the culture of the company, of how we think about things, how we solve problems, how we think about processes, how we think about the experience, product, etc. So our approach has been to try to change the culture first. And we've done a lot of things towards this. And we are what I call like a sandwich strategy, that it's getting the leadership very aligned and very hands-on into AI, everybody really doing things. And then we are trying to promote and get people very interested and doing things and convert the team into AI, what we call AI champions, AI specialists. And many people in the team have really gotten deep into AI, and we are hiring also AI experts. So every team in the company has AI teams inside their team, and we have many agents already working in the different teams, and AI processes done fully with AI or with some of them with human in the loops. And then we're doing offsites. We had one last week. We brought in more than 50 people of the company, and we worked 3 days. Not theory. I don't believe AI is learned by going into a class or doing theory. It's you learn it by doing. So we are really doing, and today we are seeing huge impact in many of the projects we have with AI. We had the board in this self-site, and they were really, wow, incredible what the team is doing. So my number one priority is converting the company really to an AI first company. So we're in the process of doing that, and until now I'm pretty happy with the results.
Oh, that's very good. You are building the structure for AI, because at the beginning it's a little bit difficult because this is something new, right? And we now, after I closed the startup that I had with a few founders last year, I started a small business, and it's a consulting solution company in business integration and automation. So we have seen a lot of, obviously, a workflow automation, data architecture integration, and also using basically the tools that are available, Copilot, Claude, ChatGPT. And the more that people use it, the more they understand how easy it is and the functionalities that they have. I had a conversation with. Have you seen Intercom? I mentioned this in another episode, but they did a very big digital transformation, which was very simple. Everyone in the business has to use Claude, and everyone is using Claude. And like he said that the productivity increased like I don't remember how many times. Obviously they have issues with the token because it's very expensive, but in the end he did a very good deal with the Anthropic with a good price basically for the tokens. So it was a very disruptive implementation, but now the number of features and how they have improved the customer satisfaction is something. He said that it's very high. Like I don't know the multiple, but it's quite impressive, basically.
Yep.
Well, to close the episode, Tomás, would you like to share some lesson learned, something? Because I imagine, during these 7 years, there were moments probably where you were doubting, or you said, okay, this is gonna fail, and then you continue and you learn, like some hard lessons. You said, I'm never gonna do this again. Do you have something that you can share, you would like to share with people in the fintech industry globally? Because the episode is in London, Europe, but a lot of people from different countries watch the episode. Also for people in LATAM, right? Because there are different perspectives from like the global perspective and also from the LATAM or Chile perspective. We'd like to share some lesson learned before we leave.
Yeah, so like a few scattered things. First, when you're starting a business, today is the best time in the world to start a business with AI, of course. Before you needed to hire, developers, designers, whatever. Today you can do everything yourself, and that's very cheap and fast to do. Of course, it's much difficult to build competitive advantage because everybody has the tools, but it's a very exciting time to start a company. So the ones that really want to do it, this is a good time. Second, if you start a company, the only first thing you have to focus on is product market fit. All the rest is music. So iterate until you get product market fit, or else if you don't, throw out that idea and go into the next one. Focus on unit economics. So you have to build a business that eventually makes money. You can raise money at first, maybe if it gets traction and everything, but eventually it will matter. The unit economics will matter, and the company has to make money. So that hire the best possible people you can. That's critical for success. Not the amount of people in the company is not a predictor of growth. Companies and products grow when the product really and the experience really hits a nerve in the customer, when you offer an experience that's much better than what the other companies offer. Focus a lot on the customer, really. So don't add a lot of layers between the customer and yourself. Try to be as direct as you can with the customer, because those are the guys that will make you grow or not grow. So be successful or don't. So listen to them and take action on the things they're saying. Yeah, I would say those are a few things that for me matter a lot.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. It was a good conversation. We learned a lot about your journey, your company, and very proud, to be Chilean. I always bring the Chilean part when I can, to be honest. And thank you and congratulations. Say some words to say goodbye, and then we will close it.
Sure. Thank you, Mario. Very fun conversation.
Okay, super. Have a good luck, and I will see you some point in the future. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.